Okay, so strudel, we all know it, right?
Yeah.
You probably picture like that perfect slice of warm apple pastry,
Yeah.
maybe with powdered sugar on top, served somewhere cozy, Vienna, maybe Bavaria. It just feels like the definition of Central European comfort food.
Absolutely. It really is.
But today, we're going deep because the story behind strudel, its lineage, it's anything but simple.
No, it's an icon, for sure. But what's really fascinating, almost shocking, is realizing why it's such an enduring symbol. It's because its history is, well, global, spans centuries.
Plentiful.
Yeah, it owes a huge culinary debt to an empire far, far outside the Alps.
Okay, so that's our mission for you today. We're going to trace this really unexpected historical path, for this layered pastry. A path that starts, surprisingly, much further east than you might think. And we want to pin down the specific roles Austria and Germany played in really elevating it.
Right, the origin versus the mastery.
Exactly. And then, the best part maybe, we're giving you the ultimate technical deep dive. The 6 absolute must-know rules for getting that incredible, paper-thin, perfect strudel dough yourself.
Because strudel didn't just, pop up fully formed in Vienna. It's almost like a historical document in itself, by its nature.
Okay, let's unpack that history then. The word itself, strudel. It's German, means whirlpool, right? Because of the layers.
Yeah, that swirling look when it's rolled up.
So if we're looking for the very beginning, the genesis point of the recipe, where does that trail start?
Well, the documented trail, lands us squarely in Vienna, 1697.
1697, wow.
Yeah, that's where we find the first known written strudel recipe in a manuscript. And interestingly, it wasn't Apfelstrudel, not the apple one we all love today.
No, what was it?
It was strudel.
Milk strudel.
Milk strudel, okay. So Austria definitely gives us that first documented named recipe, the starting point on paper.
Okay, Vienna, 1697. Got it. But the technique. That's the thing, isn't it? The idea of striking dough, yeast-free dough, so incredibly thin you could almost see through it. Was that technique actually invented there, or did it come from somewhere else? Did it predate those Viennese bakers?
Oh, it definitely predated them. And this is where that cultural borrowing, that global connection, becomes really crucial.
Right.
The external catalyst here was Ottoman cuisine. We need to rewind a bit further, back to the 16th century. Ottoman troops reached the gates of Vienna then.
Right, the sieges?
Exactly. And their military presence, well, it brought culinary influences too. Most importantly for our story, baklava.
Ah, baklava. So you're saying the structure of strudel, those super thin buttery layers, it's basically descended from baklava.
Structurally, yes. Austrian chefs saw that basic technique, layering very thin dough brushed with fat, and they adapted it. Brilliantly, I should say.
Also, what was the adaptation?
Well, baklava is famously soaked in heavy syrup, filled with nuts, very rich. The Austrians made this genius swap. They replaced that heavy, syrupy nut filling with locally available fruit, mostly apples.
Apples, right.
And sometimes lighter, dairy-based fillings or sauces. So they merged that Ottoman technique with European ingredients, and that really laid the groundwork for strudel as we now know it.
That is a brilliant swap. Trading the intense syrup for lighter, seasonal fruit. It gives it a totally different character, doesn't it?
Completely different.
Was that just about taste, do you think? Or maybe were those expensive spices and sugars in baklava just harder to get in 17th century Vienna?
It was likely a bit of both, practicality and taste. The Viennese were really good at taking an exotic, maybe expensive foreign technique and making it work locally, making it more economical, more suited to their palate.
Yeah.
It just shows how food is always in this kind of dialogue across cultures,
Yeah.
adapting based on what's available, what people prefer.
So Austria gives us the historical root, the reinvention of the technique. But anyone who's seen real professional strudel dough knows that the technical perfection needed, it didn't stop in Vienna.
No, definitely not.
So let's talk about this tale of two nations idea, because Germany definitely seems to have stepped in to elevate strudel into, well, a technical masterpiece.
Absolutely. The Apfelstrudel, the apple version, it really hit its stride in the Austrian imperial court. We're talking 18th century now.
Okay.
And from the court, the recipes traveled pretty easily into neighboring Bavaria, southern Germany.
Right. And this is where Germany becomes the steward, the refiner. Is that fair?
I think that's a great way to put it. It wasn't just about having the recipe anymore. German bakers, particularly in Bavaria, they took the existing technique and just perfected it. They really defined that signature quality we look for today.
What did they add specifically? What was the German refinement?
It was all about meticulous technique. The dough preparation itself became this incredible craft. They perfected the rolling and stretching, often using specific high-gluten flours, needing the right room temperature, the right humidity, so the dough wouldn't tear.
Right, it's very sensitive.
Extremely. And the standard became that legendary one you hear about. The dough had to be stretched so thin enough to read a newspaper through it.
That's just an incredible standard. It implies a very specific method, doesn't it? You don't get that kind of elasticity with just any old flour and a rolling pin.
Oh, absolutely not. It required real dedication. High-gluten flour was key. And famously, specialized setups. You hear stories of bakers stretching the dough out over a huge table covered with a linen cloth.
Wow.
Dusting it just so, and using the backs of their hands gently stretching until it literally draped over the edges of this massive table.
Using the backs of their hands.
Yeah, to avoid poking holes with fingertips. That pursuit, that almost obsessive focus on transparency in the pastry, that's the German contribution that defines modern strudel.
Okay, so the dual heritage is becoming clearer. Austria. Origin, adaptation of the Ottoman technique. Germany, especially Bavaria.
Yeah.
The stewardship, perfecting the artistry, making it widely popular.
Exactly. And that technical mastery is a big reason why strudel became, well, more than just a dessert.
Let's dig into that cultural significance then, because our sources really emphasize that, particularly in German-speaking areas. Strudel became this cultural emblem.
It really did. What's fascinating is how it got tied up with ideas of tradition, craftsmanship, even family continuity. It's deeply connected to legacy and skill. We found mentions that back in the 19th century, especially in some Bavarian towns, learning to make strudel flawlessly was almost like a rite of passage for young women.
Seriously, like a test of domestic skill.
Pretty much, yeah. It showed you had the necessary patience, the mastery. If you could stretch that delicate dough without tearing it, you demonstrated the kind of care, the dedication thought necessary for, running a household effectively. No. The cultural stakes were that high. It transformed the dessert from just food into a kind of symbol of readiness, of skilled labor, a celebration of effort.
That completely reframes it, doesn't it? It's not just about a tasty treat anymore. It's about celebrating labor, legacy. I can just picture it, a cold evening, that freshly baked Apfelstrudel, maybe with warm vanilla sauce.
Vanilla sauce, yes.
Yeah.
Or whipped cream.
It's the absolute definition of comfort, but tied to this really demanding specific craft.
And while Apfelstrudel is definitely the star, the popularity of the technique meant tons of regional variations popped up, especially in German bakeries.
Oh yeah, like what?
Towns got creative. Fillings like sour cherries, rich poppy seeds, sweet quark or farmer's cheese. Even savory versions using things like cabbage or potatoes, especially popular in colder months.
Savory strudel. Okay, that sounds interesting. It really became like a culinary canvas for the whole region then.
Absolutely. And this tradition, it's not just history, it's actively celebrated today, not just in family kitchens, but out in public too. Well, if you go to a food festival, say in southern Germany, you'll often see live strudel making demonstrations.
No way.
Yeah, bakers honoring the tradition, showcasing the dough being expertly stretched and layered right there in front of everyone. It's this mesmerizing public display of exactly the mastery we've been talking about. A real nod to that 18th century standard.
Okay, this is the perfect transition. Let's move to the actionable knowledge. We've got the history, we understand the cultural weight, the incredibly high technical demands.
Right.
But how do we actually achieve that at home?
Right.
We need to translate that old world mastery into something doable in a modern kitchen. Let's walk through the 6 absolute keys.
Okay. Key number 1 obviously has to be the dough itself. And the biggest mistake most home bakers make: impatience.
Impatience, okay. Let's call this tip 1, masterful dough.
What?
What's the single biggest sign that the gluten structure is actually ready for that intense stretching? Because I've tried this, and yeah, ripping happens.
Yeah. Ripping usually means one of 2 things. Either the dough hasn't rested long enough, or maybe you skimped a bit on the initial kneading. You have to knead it thoroughly first. Develop that gluten. Make it elastic, almost like chewing gum.
Right.
And then comes our second crucial key, essential resting.
Okay, why is resting so critical? If I'm short on time, can I just start rolling?
Well, when you first knead dough, the gluten network is all tight and stressed out. If you try to stretch it right away, it'll just fight you, it'll snap back, or worse, tear. Letting it rest, often for like 30 minutes, maybe even an hour at room temperature, that allows those gluten strands to relax, to become pliable. That relaxation is the secret to stretching it transparently without disaster. Patience really is folded into every layer here.
That makes total sense.
Right.
Okay, dough kneaded, dough rested. Now the filling. Because even with perfect dough, a soggy bottom is just crushing.
Oh, the worst.
What's the secret to controlling that moisture?
It's kind of twofold. First, flavor-wise, definitely use a mix of apples, some sweet, some tart for better depth.
Good tip.
But the crucial technical defense against sogginess, this is tip 3, balanced filling and moisture control. You absolutely must use breadcrumb.
Breadcrumbs, really?
Yes, lightly toasted in a little butter usually. Sprinkle them directly onto the stretched dough before you add the apple filling.
Wait, breadcrumbs?
Yeah.
Won't that taste weird? Does it affect the texture?
Not really, no. Their job is mechanical. They absorb the excess juice the apples release as they bake. They create a barrier, stopping that liquid from turning your beautiful thin bottom layer into, well, paste. The flavor is pretty mild, adds maybe a tiny bit of texture, but they are non-negotiable if you want a crispy bottom. Absolutely essential.
That's genius. Okay, breadcrumbs deployed. Now, what about that signature crispiness, that shatteringly crisp golden exterior that makes strudel, well, strudel?
Ah, yes. That brings us to tip 4, butter brilliance. This is absolutely key for the look, the texture, the crunch.
So just slather it in butter.
Pretty much. Well, melted butter. Ideally clarified butter if you want to be really precise. You need to brush it generously between the layers as you fold or roll.
Okay.
Or at least brush the entire surface really well before it goes into the oven. That fat creates steam during baking, which physically separates the thin layers of dough. That's what gives you that beautiful, flaky, shattering result. Don't skimp on the butter.
Got it. Butter is brilliance. Now, the actual baking, you can do everything right and then ruin it with the wrong oven temp. Tip 5. Controlled baking. What are we aiming for?
Moderate temperature, that's key. Around 180 degrees Celsius, which is about 350 Fahrenheit.
Not hotter?
No, because the dough is so incredibly thin. If the oven's too hot, the outside will burn way before the inside layers cook properly or the apples soften. You need that moderate heat for even cooking. It gives the breadcrumbs time to work, lets the butter create those layers. You're aiming for that consistent golden brown all over and a properly cooked interior.
Moderate heat. Makes sense. Okay, final touch, tip 6, the finishing flourish. How do we present this masterpiece?
The classic traditional way, the way German bakers have done it for ages, is a generous dusting of powdered sugar over the top once it's slightly cooled, and serve it alongside either a scoop of vanilla ice cream, or maybe even more traditionally, a warm, slightly thin vanilla sauce like a creme anglaise.
Oh, lovely.
It just completes the whole experience, you know? Balances the tartness of the apple with that creamy sweetness.
This has been fantastic. Seriously, tracing the journey of what seems like a simple apple pastry, all the way from the Ottoman Empire, reinvented in 17th century Vienna, mastered in German bakeries, it really changes how you see it.
It does, doesn't it?
Savoring strudel now feels like paying homage to this incredible shared culinary journey across centuries.
Exactly. It's so much more than just flour, apples, and butter. Strudel really is like tradition folded into layers of care and patience and love. It's a delicious testament to hard work and legacy. Actual food history you can eat.
So maybe next time you enjoy a slice, perhaps with a newfound appreciation for the sheer patience needed for that dough, think about this. Strudel embodies patience, effort, legacy. What other simple, everyday comfort foods in your life might have a similarly rich, layered history hiding just beneath the surface? Some to chew on, maybe. We encourage you to start pulling on those culinary threads.